We are in the Serranía de CORAZA, the CORAZA Protected Forest Reserve that covers 3 municipalities, a municipality of Tolu Viejo, Coloso and Chalon. At the moment we are in Tolu Viejo, on land in the village of La Piche, a village in the municipality of Tolu Viejo, surrounded by mountains. With vast vegetation, and the peasantry in this region is dedicated to the conservation of this ecosystem of the CORAZA Protected Forest Reserve. I have a background in history and economics, and I dedicate a large part of my life to environmental conservation. I have been trying to build these environmental corridors here in the area of the CORAZA Forest Reserve, in the municipality of Tolu Viejo in the village of La Piche. The region of Montes de María is a space between the departments of Bolivar and Sucre. It is composed of about 15 municipalities, 8 in Sucre and 7 in Bolivar. Historically it has been a region that has had its scenario articulated to the city of Cartagena, and also to the port of Tolu in the time of the colony, and recently the region was the breeding ground of a process of violence, of the violence problem that was lived here in Colombia. And we were unfortunate because it was the inhabitants of the region of Montes de María who laid the dead. The actors in conflicts did not lay the dead, only we, the inhabitants, laid the dead. We have tried to overcome that moment of conflict, and we have used, in our case, in our family case and in our community case, we have used environmental conservation. Since we are in the buffer zone with the CORAZA Forest Reserve, and we are promoting conservation, and this is a product of a scenario in which we can contribute to the transformation that the conflict generated, and we see it as an opportunity to generate local development through a scenario that is nature tourism. On July 6, 1983, the CORAZA Protected Forest Reserve was created. It is a reserve of, let's say, national coverage, and is named in honor of the part of a township called CORAZA, which is in the municipality of Coloso. It is a reserve, let's say, unique in the department of Sucre, and is one of the few in the Caribbean region. It is a patch of tropical dry forest that is a forest, which are very few in Colombia, and are as the conservation objective because there are few that we have been reducing at the national level, and we are in favor of the conservation of this tropical dry forest. In Colombia there is only 8% of tropical dry forest, and it is a minimal part, and that is why it is important that we who have it must conserve it, and that is our mission of conservation of this tropical dry forest, because it gives us a diversity of endemic species, because it produces an exuberant flora and fauna, and there are some species that are on the way to extinction, and here we find them, like the cotton-top tamarin that is on the way to extinction, and is a species to be protected. And in this protected forest reserve we find this species. In all the Montes de María corridor we find this species, so it is a species to protect in Colombia, and that is why the importance of conservation in this area. Animals and plant species, in addition, fungi, microorganisms, including algae, The adaptations that have heavy to form to survive the water deficit that have these tropical dry forests start with a system of finding trees with many compound leaves, and that these compound leaves are small. That has a special explanation, and is to avoid excessive water loss either by evaporation or transpiration processes. In the same way, these trees have created certain adaptations, such as losing their foliage when the dry season becomes very long. This also suggests a saving of water and energy to survive. Also, many trees widen their trunks to adapt and begin to modify leaves and create smoother and rougher bark. Within the dry forest, our animals also acquire some behaviors that have helped them to survive. Many times the animals carry out their reproductive processes late, and others begin to modify their body temperature. In addition, our animals begin a series of migrations within the forest in search of water resources. All these adaptations that the forest creates or stimulates on their populations has given us a high rate of endemism and especially small variations at geographical levels of variability and abundance of species within these ecosystems. The reserve provides us with some ecosystem resources, some that provide us with food, wood, palm, bitter palm, which is a species that is used here for the construction of houses, that is part of the culture, let's say, of this cultural heritage, which is the construction of barricade houses with palms. We get this material from the tropical dry forest. It gives us water, and water is very important. This resource, because there are a variety of springs that come from the reserve, and from here all the springs that provide the community aqueduct. In the case of Pish, this spring comes from the reserve that provides drinking water to the communities, not only in Pish but also in the villages. So, to conserve the reserve is also to conserve our water sources. And as we are in the municipality of Tolu Viejo, and as Tolu Viejo we belong to, let's say, municipality that has a variety, a quantity of water sources, and that obliges us to conserve these water reserves. Right? It also gives us, well, the oxygen. In fact, the oxygen that the number of trees produces, above all, the native species here, the species that are typical of this tropical dry forest. It also gives us shade, and something very important is that it also gives us the natural landscape. This natural landscape allows us to promote a basic activity, that is, as eco-rutas we are promoting nature tourism. Nature tourism is the means for conservation, because the more we conserve, the more tourists come to enjoy this natural landscape, and then tourism becomes the means for the conservation of this ecosystem. So, the reserve gives us many elements. It gives us many things. So it gives us, it provides us, but it also gives us, in addition to the natural landscape, it gives us a resource that contributes to the culture, which is the landscape. It is tourism. It gives us species such as the blio de chupa. From the blio de chupa we get musical instruments. It gives us wood. So the forest reserve gives us many things in return. My name is Rafael Arturo Para Carrasco. We are here in the village of La Piche. As we can see, the most sacred thing, we ask God and we thank God for what we are seeing. This spring, which is a blessing for the whole population. We have been serving in this service for 43 years and we are all happy. Well, we are grateful anyway. Well, we used to come here where you see this place. We used to come to get the water in cans, in tanks. Later we organized ourselves in '76. We got the pipeline from an entity. It was impossible for us because we did not know about it. But finally a man came, an advisor, and he advised us. I did the intake, the pool, he advised me, then we extended the networks and it was my turn to learn the plumbing and he taught me. And I became the aqueduct administrator. I have been the plumber since that time and today we are grateful, the entire population with this spring that we have at this point, in this beautiful township. In this beautiful reserve as we see it, this is a beauty, everything. Here, we argue with the people so that they don't cut down a tree, so that they don't take a stone from us, but anyway, no problems. This stream that we look at, this thing that is there. People come and are amazed with this beautiful creek and we are happy on that side. Because tourism arrives here, many, well, people of all kinds come to look, to bathe and be here. Many people come just to look. Then what do? Well, to buy a farm. From here there have been about 3 people who have bought a farm. They have bought a house and they have taken possession here as if they were from here in the region, on that side. Well, we are happy with the people. Associated with the tropical dry forest found within the CORAZA and Montes de Maria Reserve are 2 other predominant ecosystems: agroecosystems and gallery forests. They are also responsible for providing water services to other species. Agroecosystems have been modified and, in some cases, have taken over areas of the reserve to be used for livestock or agricultural purposes. CORAZA is also important for the ecosystem services and goods it provides. One of these is the water reserves that, according to Dane records in 2015, about 27,000 people are supplied with water from the reserve. From Tolu Viejo with the communities of Piche and Macajal and in Chalon and Coloso, the entire municipality is supplied with the resource from CORAZA. CORAZA is also an important source of food, climate regulation, soil production, and oxygen production that benefits the surrounding communities in multiple ways. So much so that the socio-cultural development of the surrounding communities is possible thanks to the reserve, because it allows the development of political, administrative, spiritual, and religious dimensions of the communities that surround it. This place for me is part of our lives, first because I am a native. I was born here 56 years ago. I was born in a plot of land on a canvas bed assisted by a midwife, which was the formula for births. as natives of this area. This means part of our lives, the CORAZA Reserve, the waters, everything that we produce here is part of our life. Since we live here in December, Easter week, all those legendary times, we grew up here, and it is something that is really important for us in the spiritual, in the productive part, in the emotional part, since it is a very beautiful region, where we were born, where we grew up, and where we are now. The Sultan Waterfall has about 45 years ago groups of natives that we met, young people of the time, boys, our tradition was to come to bathe in the streams, in the things, and this was here an impenetrable jungle. One of them, 2 boys were a little roasted, and they went all the way down the creek trail braving all this. As you can see, the high rocks, the stone, the thick vegetation, and they came upon the scene of the Sultan Waterfall, of which it was a very large spring, which the stream was very powerful, and he said, "We found a sultan." He was referring to the Sultan because the jet was immense. It was big and made the journey to great distance. From that date the tourism was local. We came all the plots on Sundays to make that meeting. To make some pots, we made right here the food familiarly. Later we invited our relatives, and today we have the opportunity that people from universities have visited us, people from many entities, foreign tourism has come here, people from different parts of the country. Today ecotourism is a reality in our region, because we have believed that we have the natural elements to provide a service of nature. The importance of water is vital. Here we have the aqueduct of the village of Makajan, which is a 70 by 70 tank and is supplying 2,500 families to approximately 5,000 or 6,000 inhabitants of the village, and that comes by gravity. It does not generate a watt of energy. It does not really have other costs, it goes directly from the water source, from the natural source to the houses, so that the people can receive the precious liquid. In the same way the village of La Piche, the part here, of another village of Chinalito, all of them receive their services, their aqueduct. It is in the upper part of the entire CORAZA Reserve and the Hill of the Bells. It is important for that reason, because that is where we really get this service, which is our precious liquid. Montes de Maria is known with this stigma, but we want to tell people, with confidence, that they can come and visit our ecotourism routes. Come and visit our crops. Come and visit our plots, our waters, our streams, because we are a group of people who are honest people, hard-working people. As we have not really characterized the Montemarianos, here we have really been born, we have grown under some values and under some principles that our parents taught us. So we invite you to come and enjoy our gastronomy, to enjoy our flora, our fauna, the natural baths of these thermal waters that come from the mountain, that emanate from the mountain. Since my father told me that I had to plant trees in my life, from that moment I made the decision to contribute to the environment, and it has become a principle of life to always be in function of conserving and promoting a healthy environment, and to promote conditions so that the territory has a free space, a clean space, a space that promotes good coexistence, good health, for the people, for the territory. Ecorutas Montes de Maria is a diverse organization that has a group of people who are farmers, peasants, women, young people, the importance in this case of young people in this diverse group. And we are also professionals who promote and we group to form Ecorutas Montes de María. It is formed since 2017. We are very young, really, but we have advanced steadily in strengthening not only the organization, but tourism in the municipality. In TvAgro, one of the lines the economy is agriculture and limestone. However, tourism is a source of improvement of the economy of the municipality, and had never been seen as that source of income generation in the municipality. So we want to dismiss the whole issue of mining to strengthen tourism and environmental conservation, and thus have better opportunities for life and, let's say, the conservation of the ecosystem. The formation of eco-routes and this idea of tourism was also a very oriented process. It did not arise to form the organization, but it was a training process, and from there came the idea of the formation of Ecorutas Montes de María. Let's say Montes de María because we are in the heart of the Montes de María. Many people have visited us. Let's say, to validate the tourist route. The departmental table of tourism of the Department of Sucre, foundations. Also the University of Cartagena came. And we were in the Sultan, which is one of the also, of the landscapes that we show in the Aranitas village in the township of Macajam. Well, anecdotes. Many because the people suddenly, not even the villagers themselves, knew that we had a beauty to show and that it was an opportunity for tourism to put our municipality in a high position. We were the subject of a report at the time with the entity Are We Travel. Are We Travel is a company that was hired by Natural Wealth Program of USAID, and they did a report on us, and that allowed us to be known nationally. We have also recently participated in an interview with 360 Points Travel, also an international program in Mexico that makes us known in the world that there are in this small municipality, which is TvAgro, an opportunity for tourism, but also a strategy to conserve the entire ecosystem that is a concern worldwide.